Welcome to my diary. I'm Tatami, and today we are going to talk about the Hunter Biden interview because it's been a while since I watched an interview and my mouth was just open the entire time, just shocked. What is this man even talking about, and why, and for what, and for why? Y'all, I've come to the conclusion that for the why of it all, part of it has to be war storying. It really does. And for anyone not familiar with that term, I learned it when I was sent to a boarding school when I was about like 15 years old. It was one of those schools that like some kids are there because they're actually addicted to really hardcore drugs, and other kids are sent there because they're like, I don't know, some of them is gay, some of them is like your parents are freaking out because you're truant. It's just very variant what you could be sent there for, right? So, and some kids were sent there with very minor issues who left with some brand new fresh ideas that perhaps their parents should not have sent them there to gain. But at any rate, one of the rules there, like there were a lot of rules. You couldn't wear street clothes. You had to wear the school uniform, and it was color coded to show what level respect you could get from the staff, essentially. And one of the rules was that you weren't allowed to war story. You weren't allowed to tell stories about why you were there, what you had done to get there, the shenanigans that might have ensued. Some kids had straight up been on the streets, so their stories were quite intriguing. And some kids, had really sad stories. Some kids just wanted to talk about what they'd been through, but you weren't allowed to talk about it because that would be glorifying it. And that, to some extent, I can see why or how, when you would be talking about this stuff, it can easily tread ground between it was horrific and you are glorifying that time. And that's really the sense that I got watching Hunter, was that this was almost like war storying to him. One of the main parts that I got that impression from, that he was straight up war storying, was when he said Parmesan cheese. I was like, oh, this is one of those kinds of stories. And it's funny because if it wasn't Biden's son, if it was some other rando, I would actually be I would find this a lot more likable. I would appreciate the candor and, telling it like it is, what crack cocaine is like. I mean, it's just not something I'm as familiar with. I do know people who have done a plethora of other drugs. That's just not one that I know many people who are on. And so I was just really interested to hear a lot of those things, but it just leaves a sour taste in your mouth when you remember that this person's father made it so criminal, had all of this like real, he was really going after the drug addicts. So for his son to be here just frankly laughing about the cheddar cheese and the time he stayed awake for 13 days straight, crawling around on the floor, smoking anything that looked like a crumb of crack, I'm like, dude, this is a little much for you to be sharing this information. Nobody really asked for this information, first of all. Like, him being, having the addiction was already public knowledge. Nobody needed to know the gritty details of it, especially from him. He is the one person, the one rich kid who got away with everything, who should absolutely have stayed silent and just eaten his food. He should have just stayed silent, accepted that his dad somehow, despite all the odds of having him as a son, his dad managed to become president of the United States. He should have just been like, whew, somehow you did it, Dad. But no, not only did he do this weird interview where I think that the news anchor probably could have pushed him a little bit more in some directions, like with some of her questions. I feel like, but I think she might have been overwhelmed with just like somebody referring to it so frankly, and he didn't seem very chagrined. He didn't seem remorseful or in any way like he could understand how him getting a job he's totally unqualified for in another country, that he just has no self-awareness. It felt like it almost like makes you feel like, especially if you're somebody who has a lot of stigmas against drugs. I think like I don't have a lot of those stigmas, and I still probably would have also been a little taken aback by his breezy, easy breezy, beautiful cover girl attitude throughout that whole thing. But then he had the audacity to go on Kimmel, which I found even more shocking. He's on Kimmel making jokes. Again, like, I mean, of course that Kimmel makes the jokes or whatever, but I found like Hunter's attitude was just, again, it was the war storying. Very bizarre. And then further, he was going on to further condemn other drugs, which I found very interesting. There was a point in the Kimmel interview where he's like, oh yeah, that's how it is for all drugs. When you do one, you're always out there just chasing the next high. And I was like, chasing the... I feel like I need to disagree with that. I feel like I need to disagree with that, because it's like, out here, cannabis, people out here take their first hit. You'll always, for the rest of your life as a pothead, be running into people with a better rig than you, better stuff than you, stuff that's done in a different way than you do it. There's the edibles, there's the vaping, there's just the whole world out there. You're never actually doing that. And further, I've also taken LSD. I've never been out here chasing the first time. What does that mean? It's just like, no, that was you. That's you with that drug, and maybe a bunch of others as well. I've heard that with other ones. But don't be out here saying that for everything. Don't be out here trying to specifically talk about you, sir. Don't be generalizing out here, acting like you are something, you've done something. It's just like, it's just frustrating, I think. It's just frustrating looking at this person who, if he was somebody else's child, if he was just a child like anybody else, like you and I know, he would have never had the opportunity to be going to Yale, or, right, I think that's where he went, and be able to graduate as a lawyer. Like, he wouldn't have had that opportunity because he'd have been in prison with all the other people who 3 strikes or minor possession, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just really hard to watch this dude. I have my notes here. I need to see what I'm missing. But yeah, the Parmesan cheese, y'all. The Parmesan cheese. Okay, so I did find the brother-wife thing. Before I get to the laptop, the brother-wife thing I found to be, I guess it was his most relatable thing, was that he in his moments of grief, it's something that you can see. It's not something you would ever really approve of. It's not something that's particularly likable. And in the wake of all the other ways and things about him, it just kind of added to his creepiness level. It almost seems like he was preying on her, but obviously she was a woman of her own free will. It just, his character, it's not like he had a whole bunch of things going for him and then that happened. It's just like, wow, dude, could you not let this woman grieve because you have nothing to offer her, especially least of all the way your brother did? Just please stop. Just please don't. But that was like the least crazy thing about him, because then we have to get to the laptop thing. Now, the laptop thing I found very, very interesting, because that was something that I think that the far right has, they've just called wolf so many times when it comes to conspiracy theories, when it comes to having these like accusations of people and things and places. They just never seem to care when it's one of their people. They always seem to have these wild accusations. They take things way too far. It's just like, by the time it got to Hunter's laptop, I was tired. All the details just seemed too fantastical. It was just like, oh, there's the blind guy and the this and he was here and there was that, and why was he in this state, and then that guy managed to send the laptop to this person. It was just a lot. It was a lot. I'm sorry. Then the wolf really came. That's what I believe. Once I saw Hunter, when she was asking about the laptop, and this man was trying to say he didn't know if his laptop was missing. He didn't know if he'd been to that state to drop off one of his laptops that is now not in his possession at a repair shop. Like, any human on earth knows if they are missing $1,000 worth of merchandise. They know if their laptop is gone. They know if there is a laptop of theirs that they don't know, they haven't been able to keep tabs on. So it was just beyond confirmation when he is like stuttering through that, saying he doesn't know. It's like, What do you mean you don't know? What do you mean you can't remember? Do you have a laptop missing? So at any rate, I mean, that's clearly his laptop. I do apologize to the right, but like I said, you know, it's like the little boy. They call wolf so many times, everybody comes running, and then, oh, look, the wolf is here, and ain't nobody come running because we tired of running, tired of looking at what you have to say. It's a headache. And sure enough, like, yeah, no, this was bizarre. I do think that's his laptop. That's what I believe now. But, and so then it's like, why? Again, then we circle back to why. Why did he do this interview? Why is he out here revealing this stuff? Who told him to do this? Why is he out here trying to write a book and sell a book like he needs the money? Like, what am I missing here? What am I missing here? Why is this going on? Your parents own homes. Go live in one of them and live out the rest of your pathetic adulthood in silence and try not to mess up your father's attempts at, like, I'm not even a fan of Biden, and I'm very confused why any of this is occurring. Why? I guess we'll come to find out, but I think he made things worse for himself. He made it so he confirmed things that didn't need to be confirmed. He revealed information that didn't need to be revealed. He made his own character look that much worse. I mean, yeah, now I'm just like, wow, dude, yeah, somehow Biden became president in spite of this fool. At any rate, I'm sure we'll be talking about him again. I'm sure that's not the last we've seen of him or we'll hear of him. May your ancestors and spirit guides be with you at every crossroads, and I will see you next time.